Hey there. I'm really glad that you could make it. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're excited to pick out your mini. I was just getting set up to do some painting. A few of the others said that they had some minis that they wanted painted, but I thought it would be good to start with you since it's going to be your first game. Would you like to see some of the minis that I was able to get picked out for you? Yeah. So I know that when we were having a conversation, you had described your character for me. He was raised by wolves, was a little bit wild, maybe liked to wear a little bit of furs. And you said that they were rather muscular. So I grabbed a few of the minis that I have in my collection. And I have one that's already painted and a few that aren't. But I'd love to show you and just go over them and see if there's one that you like. Would you like to see? So, this one is one of the first minis that I ever painted. He's really special to me because of it. You can see he's got a hammer that he's wielding, and his long hair is getting blown in the wind. He seems to be prepared for the cold, the harsh winter. He definitely says barbarian to me. I picked this one out because you said that he was rather flexible and energetic. This mini came in a box for monks, but I like to think that if a mini fits with your description, it shouldn't matter what race or class it is. The mini should inspire you to play your character, and it should be exciting to see it on the table. There's this one. He's rather tall. Also prepared for cold weather. He's got a nice one-handed axe that he holds over his shoulder with a little bit of a beard, some nice boots. He'd look rather nice painted up. There's this one. Now, he does seem to me like someone who might have been raised by the wolves. Someone that's pretty muscle-bound and barbaric. He's a pretty have this one. Now he's pretty interesting. If you can see that there. He has a bit of a skull with horns on his shoulder. And his axe has horns on it too. He's pretty fun. I do like his ponytail. So, let's take a look. So, hopefully one of those will work well for you. So did you want to use the monk, who's a little more lithe and dexterous? Perhaps the taller barbarian with the big axe over his shoulder? This other barbarian who has a skull on his shoulder and a long ponytail. This one with the hammer. Or did you want to do this one with a little bit less clothes, but who is pretty muscular? Okay. I think that's very exciting. I really like this one too. Let's go ahead and get him painted then. I'm just going to set aside some of these other minis for you right now. And just get them out of the way. Would you like to see a few of the other minis that I've painted? Just to get an idea of what we might want to do. That sounds great. Now, where did I set my case? Here it is. So, should we open it? Let's look inside. There we go. So, I have a few here. This one is one of my favorites. It's a mage that I painted. Here, let me show you. As you can see, I like to use colorful paints on some of my minis. Like this one, with a flaming sword. Or this one, with a bright this archer with a lovely green tunic. So I have brought quite a few different colors with me today. And I want you to be as creative as you like. If you think that our barbarian should have a bright yellow cloth, I think that would be very exciting. I have this model color, yellow, that I like to use quite a bit. Or this one. It's a deep sky blue. Oh, you think you might want to use a more neutral palette? I think that would be great. That gives me the perfect opportunity to use these. These are new paints that I got recently. They're meant for flesh tones, but I think that they'd work really well on different cloths and leathers too. I'm excited to get a chance to use these. It looks like we have pale flesh, cadmium, heavy, dark flesh tone, heavy sienna, parasite brown, flesh wash, and a black wash. So, why don't we just set these aside, pull out some of the paints, and we can get started together. I'm really excited. There we go. We should probably set these aside too, right? Perfect. Let's take a look inside the box and see what's inside. Get the tabs out of the way. And take these out. looks like it came with a little bit of a tutorial. That seems helpful for how to paint different skin tones. This must be the black wash. That'll be useful for helping with shadows. This one. Oh, this is the Parasite brown. Very, very nice color. Very rich. This one, it's the heavy skin tone. This will make a very good base tone for the skin. Pale blush. We'll want to make sure that we can do some highlighting. Get the brighter parts of the nose and the reflections of all those muscles. This one is the heavy sienna. That's quite good. Very, very rich, warm undertones. Cadmium. That's a rather fun color. I'm sure we'll find a use for it. Oh, this one's our flesh wash. You can see how thin it is. So it'll just roll over the mini and hang on the creases to have a little bit of warmth and a little definition. And then we've got this one, the dark flesh tone. That one's quite nice. That one's also very warm, a bit brighter in hue than the heavy sienna. I think we'll put our washes here and move our warmer tones here and just arrange it a little bit. I'm quite excited to use all of these for your meeting today. Let's take these over to my workstation and we can get started on our paint job. Hello there. So, we're finally sitting down to paint the mini. We're going to look at it together and try to put a couple coats on him and get him looking really good. Right now I just have some water on the brush. Just getting it nice and clean and ready to go. Why don't we start with doing a nice base coat? We can start with his skin, since on the model, that's the part that's the most recessed. I like to do that because it's easier to get into those areas and then do the higher parts like the strap here on his back or the cloth or the armor definitely these boots. I'm really looking forward to working on this mini here, and I think that it's going to go very well. So, thank you for coming along and working with me on this. Let's just go ahead and start, shall we? So, the first color that I'm going to use is here. This one is the Parasite Brown. It's a nice, warm, rich undertone that we can do for the skin. And we'll start to lighten that up a little bit as we go with highlights. And of course, we'll use a bit of wash for shadows to really help those colors pop. And you'll notice I might do this a few times during the video. I like to get some of the excess color off of my thumb before I start painting. So we can just go ahead and get started here. Apply a nice, light, even coat across everything. And just starting with his face and his head. Nothing too heavy or too gloppy. And as we're getting that on the model, it looks like that's a very nice color that we're using. And it's okay if it's not a perfect coat. We're going to use a few coats here as we go through. And that'll really help us cover everything on the mini. Our goal right now is to quickly get just some color on the mini, a place to start from. It can be fun to get around all the little crevices and cracks. I think it's one of the more challenging parts of the painting process, but definitely one that I enjoy. I almost feel like an archaeologist gently brushing away the sand to uncover something that was buried there. As we put little bits of color on this mini, we are uncovering the mini beneath, finding out who they are, what they look like, finding little bits of detail that we maybe didn't notice on the mini before it had color. It's very fun. You'll have to forgive me here. It's a bit of a hobby of mine, but I'm certainly not the best at it. You'll find that a lot of things at my table are kind of like that. We get together and we play because it's a lot of fun. We're all getting to express ourselves, try new things, expand our skills, and be with people that we enjoy being with. It's okay not to be the best, as long as we're doing what makes us happy, we're trying things, we're having fun. That's what really matters. You'll notice I'm flipping the mini around quite a bit. It helps me more to be able to move the mini a little more than my brush to get at all those angles, all those spots that are hidden from my brush. Okay. So far it seems to be coming out okay. The paint's a little thin, a little spotty on a few places, but as we get more coats, that's going to look much, much better. Looks like the chest on this mini is taking up quite a bit of paint, probably because of how big and muscular this guy is. Here you can see what I meant about the recessed areas. So this part is really kind of behind everything else. So we just want to carefully get our brush in, get that on there. And at this point, I don't care too much if I get this color on something it's not supposed to be on accidentally, because we're going to paint everything else after we paint the skin. There we go. I've got a good bit of paint here on my brush. Just working it to get every little part. I like painting with people. It makes it a lot better that you're here with me. It's my favorite part about the hobby is having friends, doing things with people. You can see now, as he started to dry a little at the top, we're just adding a few more coats. That's helping to even out that color a little bit. Doesn't look quite as spotty. It always helps me to remember too that when we're playing the game, this tiny mini, he's gonna be on the table pretty far off from us. We won't be able to see nearly as many details as we can see right now while we're painting him because we're up close. We're really looking at all of the detail. So we'll work to put as much of it there as we can so that it does show up when we're looking at him from a distance, but it makes it extra okay if we make little mistakes here and there. let's decide for these legs. Do we think that it would be better to make them pants or bare legs? You think it'd be more fun if it was skin? Okay. We are painting it for you after all. This is going to be your character. So I do think it would be a lot of fun if he was really muscular and really proud of that. He likes to show it all off. Maybe because he was raised by those wolves. He only really likes to wear clothes or feels like he needs to wear clothes because of society. And so, this is his compromise. He puts on this little fur, a little bit of cloth, and the rest of it's there to protect him so that he doesn't get hurt too much when he's fighting. We'll come back and touch that leg again in a minute. Start to get a coat here. And when we do these thinner coats like this, one of the best parts is how quickly it all dries. So, by the time I'm done working with a particular section, we can move on and do the next section, or put another coat on something. Makes it really handy. You'll notice I like to use my pinky here to rest on the cup. Makes it easier to balance when I'm painting. I'm just going to clean off my brush here. Get a little bit of fresh paint. And let's see where else we need to touch up this base coat. Definitely needs a little more on the leg. It's good to start with a nice, rich color. Perfect. Get a little more on his abs. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good. And now I think we can start putting a little bit of a base coat on the next part before we move on to, let's say, doing the shadows or the wash. What if we do the cloth next? I think that's going to be just kind of a black to dark gray. So we'll do a nice matte black coat. Or maybe this one. Do you like that? I need to shake it up here. and then we can put it back. Perfect. Why did I shake the paint? Well, there's a few different things that are suspended in the liquid of the paint. It is a mixture, and we need to make sure we get the pigments all married together and working together. That way it comes out consistent, nice and full. This is a very nice, rich, full black. You can tell it's going on to the mini very, very well. Oh, I just realized we forgot about his hands. That's okay. We could say that he's wearing gloves and paint those a different color. Or we could go back and paint his hands using a bit of the flesh tone. Well, what do we think about that for a moment? Let's get the rest of the black here on the mini. And then we'll hop back over with that. Get the spot here between his legs. There we go. Okay. So now, I do think that I want his straps up here to be a little more brown. Same with his cloth, maybe a lighter fur color. So we'll do those in a moment. Let's rinse our brush. Let's go with the flesh tone color for his hands. We can add that here real quick. See, that's already looking much better. You can start to see his hand there, coming out from under the armor. It's the little details that really make the mini. Just have to angle the brush so that it goes over those careful little edges nice and well. And try not to overpaint too much, but it's okay. If we do, we'll just come by and put the right colors on in the right places. And same thing here with his fist. And try not to get it on the black cloak that we just painted, or the black cloth. There we go. See, that's starting to look better, isn't it? Looks like I forgot a bit of his thumb over here. As always, just be patient and practice, and it all starts to work for us. Okay. I think we can do a first pass on the metal objects now, perhaps. What do you think? Do you want to do this rough iron color that we have here? Or maybe we should do this plate metal. The roof, very good. I think most of his model is going to be this more fleshy tone and brown colors. So maybe we should use this lighter color for the metal, more traditional metal, instead of the iron. Here, we'll set it aside. Make sure the lid is nice and tight, and set it all aside. Our brush is clean. Now we can start putting that color on. And I'm seeing a few places here on his shoulders. I could maybe use another coat of that flesh tone as well. Why don't we do that in just a second? I think he's gonna look pretty good by the time we're all done. You know, I've seen some people that can paint somebody like this guy in 30 minutes or less. I think I'm not quite that fast, but I think we're making pretty good progress, don't you? The real magic comes in as we start layering up the colors. And we're done with the base coats. We start getting a little more depth to everything. It's really nice to see that. Get the top edge of the axe. There you go. And I guess I never explained this, so look up. I just find that it's a really good size for me, for something to hold on to with the mini, so that I don't have to handle it with my fingers. It gives me something to rest my hand on as I paint for stability. And that's just a lovely little addition here. I always think that it gives a little better control. Here we go. I think his bracers here are looking very lovely. I wasn't quite sure if they were metal or leather or both, but I think that the color is going to really make this pop on the table. And I like the idea of the metal there. Perfect. And while we're using this color, we might as well do the boots. And those look like they just have plates on the front and the top with fur on the back. So we'll go ahead and do that and set them up that way. We do want to make sure we get all the way back on the plates though. We don't miss anything. It's okay if we get a little on the rocks. There we go with the fur spots on the back. And do the other one. Get the top of the boots very carefully. Try not to get any on the cloak that we just painted, or the cloth. we go. Sometimes the paint lets us define a shape. We can interpret the mini a little bit. Where we choose to put color helps cue the eyes of whoever's looking at the mini as to what's there. So let's bring the metal around the back of his heels. Let's see, the fur only comes down so far. So how's that looking? I think pretty okay. Let's also put a little dab right here. A little buckle on the middle of his chest straps. I don't see any back here, so I'll just stick with that one for now. Okay. One last dab of the skin tone in a few places. I noticed it was a little thin up here. Maybe he could use a little more in his hand. Right there. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and use a few of the washes. The first one is this flesh wash here. But you don't know what a wash is? That's okay. It'll make a lot more sense when I put it on. So, it's this really thin paint, or sometimes it's an ink, and it likes to gather in the cracks and crevices and kind of thins out a little bit everywhere else. So it's going to really make the shape of this mini pop. Really highlight all of his muscles and curves. We kind of glob it on, and we start pulling it away. And it gives us some quick shading on the mini, adding some quick definition here. We'll do it on both legs. You can see how it really just dove into that crease. And how that's made the muscles pop a little more. Helps define the edges. It should really work on his hands as well for defining individual fingers, the shape of his fist. And this will help us when we go for the next step, which is to start highlighting some things. But why don't we check in on our mini real quick? I think he's looking okay. The next wash we're going to use is this one. This is a black wash. We can use this on his armor pieces. But actually, maybe we'll wait just a moment. Let's paint a little bit of his straps and his furs first. And then we can use the black wash. I think this is going to be a nice warm brown color. We can use this for the straps. It should show up nicely against the skin. Especially once we start highlighting everything. There we go. That's a nice color. We can do that on his belt as well. All the way back to where his cloth goes. And of course, we can't forget about the back strap. Just getting a little more paint on the brush. Now I think we should probably use a slightly darker brown for the axe handle here. We'll do that, and then a lighter brown for the fur, and then we can use the black wash on everything that's not the skin. this color that I just prepared. This one is heavy sienna. We're just going to pop that one into our palette. And we can use that on the wood. It's a very nice, very warm wood color. Like maybe it's mahogany or something like that. There we go. We need to get both sides now. Make sure it's coming into his hand. Perfect. Okay. And why don't we use maybe a mix of the two as the darker color of the fur, and we will lighten it up quite a bit as we start applying coats, because we want this to look different and differentiate from the rest of what he's wearing, of course. We don't want it to be monochromatic. Although that might be a fun concept for a mini one day. Okay. Do the same back here. And I think with this we'll be finally done with all of our base coating. We can start doing that other wash that we meant to do. And then the highlights. And then this mini will be good to go. If you notice, I haven't done anything with the base yet. I do have a little bit of a habit of painting everything but the base, and then doing the base last. I just like to spend my time on the mini itself because that's the thing I'm focused on. I'm really excited about. And then once I see that he's looking really good, then it's time to move on to the place where he's standing. So into that black wash. Watch how well this makes these details pop. It starts by muddying it a little bit, but then we're going to pull it all away. And it's just going to hang on the details. See that shoulder piece? Doesn't that seem like it has a lot more definition? And same with the other wrist pieces as well. And here with the legs. It's always fun to do the wash. It feels like a bit of controlled chaos to get it onto everything. And then to go through and kind of clean it up afterwards. It's really important to work with it while it's still fluid, while it's still movable, and then we can set it down. There we go. What do you think? Okay, now let's try to put a little more of that wash on the brown fur part as well. Just helps define everything. Gives it a little bit of that shape and character. And maybe a little more on the wrists and such. Okay. Now we can begin the fun part, which is starting to highlight and build up the shade a little bit. This next one is heavy skin tone, so we'll use that to start to lighten things. Okay, very good. And the trick that I like to use is to actually use that paint while we have it there on our palette for multiple things. So besides adding to the highlights of the muscles, we are also going to use that a little bit with the furs. We'll kind of mix that in a little. It might look a little silly now, but it should dry very nicely. it helps to imagine the places where the sun or an overhead light would hit and make those the brightest. We can leave some of the recessed areas uncolored. Should definitely get the top of his head. That's gotta be one of the brightest spots. The sun's coming down directly on him. And with the face, I'll actually probably make this one of the brightest places here. I'm not show you what we'll do. So, we're going to really focus on the T zone. We get some extra highlighting on the upper portion of the cheeks, his nose, his forehead. And we'll really build that up as we go brighter and brighter in our colors. I like to very gently run my brush along these textured parts, right, like under his chest, and let all of those muscles kind of catch the bit of paint that's there on my brush. It really helps highlight those parts without me having to work too hard to get the paint there. We can do the same thing here. Perfect. I think this is looking good. There's a lot more definition to our character now. I think we might want to do a few things where we're very particular, such as the top of the collarbone, because that definitely catches some light. This large neck muscle then comes up. Again, the very top of the head. A nice full coat. And just the top of the chest. Perfect. I'm now going to blend this color with our earlier brown shade. Make a lighter brown. We can start dabbing that on a few places on the fur. And fur is one of those things that I don't want to work too hard on. We just kind of do a bit of dry brushing, get most of the paint off of the brush and let it catch the highlights. And we'll keep building that up until we get a nice three-dimensional appearance to our fur. I now have an even lighter shade. Get the excess paint off the brush and start doing it again. You can see it's only grabbing the tips of the textures. And one last one, we just want to get very light highlight colors. We can kind of brush against the grain a little. That really catches. We got a little brown on his cloak, so I'll just make sure to clean the brush really well. Leave it a little wet and come through and try to get that clean. There we go. I think that looks much better. Okay, let's move on to the next color for the skin. This one is cadmium skin. So we'll really use this to bring out the shape of the face, and we'll be kind of delicate and sparing with the use on the muscles for highlights. Let's start with something easy, like with the abs. We really just want to hit the edges where these places are being caught by the light. kind of creating these brighter areas where they're a bit sun dappled. It makes a bit of an exaggerated feel, but it'll look good when it dries fully. And definitely put a few on the lighter areas, like the tips of the fingers, the edge of the thumb, and above the brow. We want to really brighten that. Brighten the nose. Make that pop. Little tip of the chin. Top of the cheek. And the tops of the ears. And then at a distance, it looks a lot better. Get a little bit here. So I can catch these muscles. Perfect. Now, I believe we're doing really good. I think maybe we might want to add a few finishing touches, but I think your mini is just about complete. We just want to make it nice and paintable, decent looking for your first game. Let's go ahead and whip up a correct earth color and paint the base. Now, this should be a nice muddy earth. Let's just quickly apply that. And then we'll use a bit of the lighter color here. Get some highlighting on the edges. more definition, a little less flat, one-dimensionalism. There we go. So, now that he's done, what do you think? Oh, you think he needs eyebrows? I think so too. We'll just add some really quick. Now I think at a distance, he looks pretty good. Not too bad for a pretty quick paint job, I think. He could go on my table and look very nice. So, I'll go ahead and do a few more details, maybe put a clear coat on him when he's dried all the way, and he'll be ready to use for your first session here coming up. Thank you so much for staying with me. It's been nice sitting, chatting, working on this mini with you. I can't wait for us to get to play soon. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.